everyone. My name is Katie Fallon. I'm Parliamentary Coordinator at Campaign Against Arms Trade. First, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Vivienne for inviting us here and for hosting this space and for kind of giving us a chance, I think, to imagine a world that's better than we have right now. So I'm really excited to tell you about Campaign Against Arms Trade, or CAT as we're also known, the work that we do, and specifically our court case against the government, which challenges arms sales to Saudi, which are being used in Yemen. Yemen has been named one of the world's worst humanitarian disaster, basically since the war started in 2015. So it's a really serious situation, but I think, I guess what I'm trying to say through this speech is that there is something that we can do about it, and we are trying, and all of your support, by sharing what we're doing and sharing what's happening is really valuable. Just a little bit of general info on the arms trade. Over a 5-year period, so from 2017 to 2021, the 5 largest exporters of arms were the US, Russia, France, China, Germany, and then we had Italy in 6th and the UK in 7th. I think one thing that I always pull out of that kind of top 7 is that 5 of those countries are on the UN Security Council, which makes a lot of decisions about what happens with war, where there's humanitarian corridors out of conflict zones, when there's going to be a military UN response. So basically what this tells us about our world is that you want to be if you want to be a world superpower, you also have to be a massive arms exporter. So the kind of country case I'm going to focus on to tell you more about is Saudi Arabia. There's so many reasons why it's problematic, but one of them is that it's the biggest importer of UK arms. So from 2015 to 2020, so that's the first 5 years of the war in Yemen, Saudi Arabia imported 50% of UK arms exports. So basically the industry is dependent on Saudi imports. And the Saudis have led the coalition for the war in Yemen, which started in 2015. So CAT has been pursuing a judicial review. So we are not challenging or trying to change the law in the UK. We're just seeking to implement what's already there, saying that they should not be exporting to Saudi. So this is because there's specific criteria. So I guess, we have so many moral reasons why we shouldn't be exporting there, but there's also the law, which says that if there's a clear risk that these goods will be used to commit serious violations of international humanitarian law, then the export licenses should be denied. So IHL, or International Humanitarian Law, is the law of armed conflict. Things that will be included in this is not bombing civilian areas where there's no military target. Unfortunately, since the very beginning of the war in Yemen, that's exactly what's happened. So these kind of atrocities would include, a school bus being bombed full of children, weddings, funerals, and actually, I hadn't thought of this until now, but marketplaces just like this one. And kind of when there's been follow-up, there hasn't been a military target nearby. BAE, one of the biggest arms manufacturers in the UK, has made about 17 billion in revenue from the war in Yemen, and the UK has sold at least 22 billion worth of arms since 2015. We had a really big success back in June 2019. The Court of Appeal ruled that the government's approach to how they gave these licenses was irrational and therefore unlawful. So no new licenses were issued for 6 months, which, for a small campaigning organization was a pretty big win. Thank you. And we did it with support from, a wonderful network of activists and campaigners. It was, a win for all of us. So we have taken up another case. We're hopefully going to be hearing that in September, October of this year. And please do keep an eye on, our social media and support and share with people that you know. One kind of development I think really shows the intent behind harming civilians. So in October, Saudi lobbied at the Human Rights Council to end the only international investigation into what's happening in Yemen. So this would look into human rights abuses by all sides of the conflict. It would include the bombardments. It would include atrocities on the ground and also the humanitarian situation. Saudi lobbied and successfully ended this mandate, which was really shocking to Yemeni civil society and to everyone who's campaigning on this. And then immediately from October until April this year, there was a huge spike in civilian deaths and atrocities. So what that would indicate is it's not just an accident, that it's that these types of atrocities are used to frighten people into submission, and it kind of mirrors what we're seeing in Ukraine, where civilian deaths are part of the war tactic. So the good news is that because there's been so much international attention on what's happened and with the spike in civilian deaths, there has thankfully been a ceasefire in April. So it's the first month in the 7-year of war that there's been no airstrikes from the coalition and 0 deaths from bombardments. And there has been prisoner swaps, and the peace process is ongoing. But I think what all of this shows to me, and I think to everyone, is that without international attention, however bad things are right now, it would be a million times worse if no one was paying any attention. When Vivienne said IOU, it really made me think, what do we owe other countries? What are we doing to them? And I just wanted to finish on, it's quite a painful quote from Radia, who's chairperson of Mawatna for Human Rights, but I think it's important, speaking in January. And she said that they observed poor villages that never knew of any of the modern technology, no smartphones, no computers, but were targeted by the latest bombs and projectiles dropped by the latest aircraft manufactured in the richest and most urbanized countries. I think she's not even speaking as angrily as she could, but it kind of highlights the connection between the West and the rest of the world. So do keep an eye out for the second part of our court case, and thanks for listening.